Which are you recording now?
Yep.
Oh, I was gonna see how you do the layout of your thing.
Well, that's okay. The layout in what way?
Like how we're just gonna talk about the Blaze of Glory album.
Yeah, basically, what I do is we'll have like a conversation first about like our fandom and how we got into the band and things like that, and then we'll go right into the album. Kind of do like a track by track thing after going over the main points, and then just seeing where it
Okay.
goes. Just being
Kind of like
casual.
what you and Jay did,
Yeah,
which was a great one. I like that one. So
that was really fun. Then and that was right at the beginning of the pandemic too. So we had a very long conversation because we didn't have much else going on at the time.
yeah, he's a good guy. He's not.
Yeah, no, and it's cool because through Twitter, I seem to have met a really cool Bon Jovi fan base, including yourself. And I first noticed you when you were posting. I think you had interviews for your own show. Now, your show considered a podcast as well? Conversations? Bon Jovi
To be honest with you, all I know is I do it video wise, which I'd love to have you on sometime.
Absolutely.
But it's just like a video on Skype that I uploaded to YouTube. So I guess you could call it what you want.
How did you grow your viewership? Because you have a lot of Twitter followers as well.
My views on, I'm sorry.
On YouTube, you have quite a few views on your videos and as well as your Twitter following. I noticed that you get a lot of responses from people.
Yeah, it's just I've been a fan for 20 years, so I've just met so many people and know many people, and that's it.
Yeah.
A lot of nice people in this fandom. That's for sure. A lot of people that have become good friends, and yep.
I felt like early on, like I used to be, and I don't really have the time as much as I used to, where I used to visit the Jovi Talk message board based out of England, but I used to be like on there quite a bit, say like 10, 15 years ago. Do you ever go on there as well?
I did that stuff when I was like, I think they were around in 2003, weren't they?
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and it still exists.
Dial-up, DSL, AOL days.
Yeah.
So I did it for a little bit. And I was like 11 years old then, but after that, I didn't really get into it, which I wish I kind of had done, but never did.
Message boards don't seem to be as popular as they used to be, but I know it's still active, and I'll pop in there from time to time to see what people are saying.
Yeah, I might have to look into it now that you mention it. And like you said, message boards aren't really a thing anymore, but it's like the forums on the fan club. The forums kind of died off in the last 10 years. So
I tried to join backstage, and I never got. I remember this was probably like 20 years ago, and I sent them a check or whatever, and then I never heard anything. And I don't know. I heard later on when I messaged Matthew about it a couple times, and he said that they had been undergoing some changes, and that's what had happened. But I still never heard another thing, so I was kind of disappointed in that experience. But I think I had access to the message boards for a little while as a consolation prize.
Oh, well, it's funny because if you look at the fan club, how long have you been a fan?
Since I was 11 years old, and I'm 41, so 30 years.
So okay, so pretty much you've grown with the band. So back then, the fan club used to be really cool with Mrs. B running it, operating it, and all the fan club trips, and it was the best. And then what was it? I think 2008 or 2009, Matt took over. And it was still fun because you with your packages, you got an autograph with every fan club subscription every year. But the last 2-3 years when band merch took over, it just was terrible.
Oh, really?
So, the fan there, because you don't get autographs anymore, which I love collecting autographs. And it's just pretty much a pin and a lanyard, and then the fan club's not even active. Like there's no forums, which only the crazies have started to use that anymore on the fan club. And they said that you get the news first on there. You don't. We're in a social media age now, which I get.
Yeah.
Everything, we find out stuff before the band even announces it. That's just how hardcore we are.
Yeah. No, it's
So,
true. Yeah, it's evolved since then, and there really isn't as much need for the message board situation anymore.
yeah.
But yeah, so I guess Matt, who in case people don't know, Matthew Bon Jovi is John's brother, who's been a road manager for them before. He's been heavily involved in the organization for years, probably since the beginning. So he went from running the fan club, then now he does the Runaway tours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
He manages that. Okay. And
he's managed Runaway tours, I think, since day one with Rob Fugezi. And then I think Matt just kind of took over the whole gig and kind of gave up security for John.
Mm-hmm. So Runaway tours is more focused on Jon Bon Jovi himself than as the whole band, usually, in most cases, correct?
Well, when they first started to do these, they were actually fan club. My first one, it was a fan. You can only do these trips if you're a fan club member, which anybody can sign up to be a fan club member and do it. But and it was just, I remember the first year of those trips, it was like 30 people got a photo with John at the same time, and people complained. And over those few years, it turned on to like 2-4 people, and then 1, and blah blah blah. And then they did ones with Richie when he was doing Aftermath, and then they started to do it like with other artists like Don Henley from the Eagles, the Goo Goo Dolls, I think, and then I think it circled back to just John.
Okay. Now, since you've experienced how many of these trips now?
I have done 3.
And what's your favorite part of the experience?
Probably the photo with John.
Yeah.
Or that, and I think just seeing John in a different setting. I think when you see John solo, which I've seen John solo many times, I think when you see John solo, he's more relaxed. He's having more fun. With the band, he's the CEO. We got to make sure everything runs perfectly. But when he's on his own, he's just, he's there to having fun.
That's a very good point you make about him, because I've seen him in CEO mode at a show where if the guys even make a mistake, you're getting a dirty look from John.
Thank God. Yeah.
He's he runs a very well-oiled machine. So it is cool to see him do what he does in the solo world and just kind of like loose a little bit. Even just doing the Hampton Water with his son, Jesse. It's really cool to see him just kind of relax into things. Like they did that Instagram, what was it, 2 weeks ago? They did an Instagram show in John's studio and on his property there. And then they did some beer or wine pong afterwards. And that was great. You felt like you were really there with them. And it was really funny because they were pretty deep into the wine by that point.
Yeah. I think us, the fans, I think we needed that. I think we needed to see a show, even if it wasn't in person, just being able to see John perform again and having fun. And it was, I like you said, the beer pong was so much fun. It was great.
It was good to see him hang out and relax with the family. And it's
you see a different side of him, I think, than you do when he's with the band, or doing interviews. You see this side you don't usually ever get to see. And I think that's what's so great about these Runaway trips, is that you get to see songs that you would never see with the band, like Joey, or stuff from the solo albums, Blaze of Glory and Destination.
Does he do something? I love Destination, but that's a whole other podcast. Because in the 90s, which this podcast is dedicated to, we were lucky to have a lot of Bon Jovi material, both solo and group efforts. So that's why I've kind of decided to do each album, dedicate its own show to that, because the band deserves it. They have such a huge catalog of work. So it's my pleasure to tell people about it, especially those who have only heard Living on a Prayer, those types of fans, people who love Bon Jovi, but they only know 3 songs.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I meet people and go, oh yeah, I love Bon Jovi. They're one of my favorite bands. What songs do you know? Oh, Living on a Prayer and Bad Name. It's like, like, I love them too, but maybe a little more.
Yeah, just slightly. My friends always tell me, like, I'm the most obsessed person they know with the band, but I've only seen them 10 times, which I've traveled a couple of those times to see them for sure. But they hadn't come to my city since 1993. And
Where's that?
Edmonton, Alberta. We're in Canada.
Okay.
And so we're Western Canada. And so 93 on the Keep the Faith tour was the last time I had seen them. No, I'm wrong. 95 These Days tour.
Well, I am completely jealous that you got to experience both those tours because
oh yeah, like
I didn't become a fan until I was 2000 in 2000 and I was 8 years old, and so I'm so envious of all the people that got to see the 80s and the 90s, and what was that like, seeing the Keep the Faith in These Days?
The Keep the Faith tour, that was the album I discovered the band on too. So it was I remember saying there was a moment where I think they were performing I'll Be There For You. And I saw the lighters go out all over the crowd. Everybody was lit up and going, whoa, everybody everywhere. And just taking in that moment brought tears to my eyes. And it made me realize this is why Michael Jackson fans cry, because it was just so overwhelming and emotional just to be in that room at that moment. And I must have only been like 12 or 13 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So then the next tour, on the These Days tour, I won backstage passes from a local guitar shop.
Wow.
So, oh man, I was over the moon. Over the moon. I was like, this is it. I'm finally getting to meet my idols, right? But I did get to meet Richie and Tico. I did not get to meet John because it was sponsored by Fender, the whole event. So it was just exclusively to meet Richie, which is wonderful.
Hey, it's still something. And Tico, it's still something. Yeah. What was it like to meet Richie and Tico back then?
Okay, so Richie was pretty chill, very chill guy. He'd answer your questions and like be really candid. But I didn't have anything important to say because I was so nervous. I was basically like, congratulations on your marriage, because he was a newlywed and such an idiot. I felt like if I could do that over again. He says he takes the Fender guitar and he says, what do you want me to play right now? And I could have thought of something way cooler than I did, but I just said, this ain't a love song. It was the current single.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So he played a little bit of that for us. And then, then we heard John warming up his vocals backstage behind another door. And I was like, oh.
So close, but yet so far.
And we still had those passes on after we were taken to our seats for the show, getting ready for the show. And the opening act was Bad Company. So I was with my buddy, and I'm like, I bet you we could get back there again. Just walk back there like we belong there. Let's try it. So we did. And of course, the local security, the Edmonton security, didn't do a thing. They like, go on right ahead. I walk backstage, and there's Tico sitting on a bench, just kind of like warming his hands, doing warm-ups. So I just kind of slowly approached him and then asked him if I could have a picture with him, if he would mind. And he's like, oh, no problem. He doesn't talk much. He just kind of like, oh, yeah, sure. And then we took a picture and I left him alone. And then I think it was Matthew who was just like, okay, you're not allowed to be back here anymore. We're clearing the area.
So get out.
Get out of here. Shoo, kids, get out. Yeah.
You've overwelcomed yourself.
But I'm glad I made the attempt to go back. That was cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Tico's the one I haven't met yet. I really want to be able to get to meet him at some point.
Yeah, he's
chill.
I think I'm taller than him. Yeah, but I'm also 5'9". So I'm thinking that's pretty tall for a lady. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is it common over in Canada for women to be a little taller?
No, it's still just a mix of different heights. And we're very multicultural too. So we welcome people from all kinds of different backgrounds and races, and everybody here is so very different. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what state do you live in?
I live in Pennsylvania, right in Erie, Pennsylvania, right on the lake. And it's nice here. fun fact, John's maternal grandparents lived here in Erie. And
Oh,
so when John was a kid, he used to come here for a couple weeks in the summer, blah, blah, blah. And so, everyone here knows I'm a diehard Bon Jovi fan. So if I had a dime every time somebody told me that John's grandparents lived here, I'd be rich. But yeah, so his maternal grandparents lived here, and obviously they're dead now, but then they came and played here during the Slippery tour in '87.
mm-hmm.
Never came back since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever, when you met him, have a chance to make a mention of that you were from Erie?
No, I never did. Actually, on the cruise last year, somebody asked him about ever coming back to Erie, and he's like, "Does that place still even exist?"
Mm.
And he's like, the arena, and he knew about the arena here because our arena isn't as big as any other arena. We're like one of the smallest arenas in the States.
Okay.
Like small acts come in, like Jeff Dunham, or not saying that they're small acts, but
Right.
not big acts like Bon Jovi.
Okay.
And he's like, their arena is so small, and we usually try to aim for bigger venues and stuff like that. And then he actually mentioned Erie again 2 weeks ago on the Hampton Water, the Q&A before the show.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had asked about what was his first concert. He said that he saw I think the Doobie Brothers here in Erie. That was his first concert. So that was kind of like exciting, knowing that I live here, and yeah. So I always hear the story about how his grandparents lived here and blah blah blah.
He's got a good connection. One of the things I like on your Twitter feed is your polls. I love how you pit the songs versus the songs, and yeah, I think they're really cool. And you get a number of people who are voting too, which I really like.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I started to do it just for, well, it is for fun, back in December, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went from, the official releases. So I went from the first album all the way up until 2020, and everybody got to pick which one they liked more. I wanted to see what everyone's thoughts were, and it brought out a lot of discussions. And I think some people found new songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then right now I'm doing outtakes from each album. And it's not doing as popular as it was when I was doing the official releases and the box set, but it's still fun. And I've gotten a few messages from people saying, "Wow, I never even knew the song existed," and they love it. So, and there's a couple that I found too that I've never heard before. So it's fun. It's something fun for everyone to do, and there's good conversations come out of it. So
the outtakes that you were mentioning recently, I didn't even know about. Not even like, I think it was like first album outtakes almost, maybe earlier. I'm not sure.
the debut ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The debut outtakes were, I think, almost terrible, because they weren't sound wise. I think the song itself was okay,
Mm-hmm.
but most of those outtakes were actually just demos, so they were never even finished.
Yeah.
And so when you listen to them, it kind of rings in your ear and hurts a little bit.
It's hard to listen to, but you want to so bad because you enjoy the song. There's one that they have that I really like that's hard to listen to, and it's Does Anybody Really Fall in Love Anymore?
Oh, I love that one. Well, they remastered that on the 2014 box set.
Okay. I'm pretty sure. Well, is that the New Jersey box set?
Yeah.
Because I have that. Okay. I have that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because
when I originally found that track, I think it was a live version.
Well, I don't think they've ever done it live, but I know what version you're talking about, because before that box set, Does Anybody Really Fall in Love and Now and Forever, I love both of those. Yeah. And you have to go on YouTube to listen to it, and the audio quality just was terrible, but you still listen to it because you loved it so much.
Yeah.
And so I was glad when they released that box set, when they had all those songs, and I wish they would do that for the other albums too. I'm surprised they didn't do it for Slippery.
Mm-hmm.
Because Slippery was obviously much bigger than Jersey was, but hey, you take what you can get, right?
It's surprising that they didn't do it for Slippery. That's the album that made them who they are, really, in the beginning.
Yeah.
Another outtake I really like was Love Is War.
That one's okay. It's not one of my favorites. That's
I
actually in
like
the
that.
poll
Yeah.
today. And it's beating every song right now. So
I love it. I don't know.
yeah.
That song always grew on me. I loved it.
Yeah. Well,
The last top poll I saw, you had it against Borderline, I think. Yeah.
Borderline was kicking some ass there. Oh, I'm sorry if I'm not allowed to swear.
Yeah, you can swear.
Was kicking ass for, I think, 8 songs. And then finally, one of the New Jersey, I think Love Is War actually beat Borderline, but Borderline will be in the final rounds.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see where it goes. Do you ever post like a summary of how the songs have beat each other and like lined up, and
I wouldn't even know.
I wouldn't even I forgot what those are called.
Like a chart?
Yeah, a chart of some kind.
I wouldn't
feel
even
like
know,
there's another name for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a list of all because at the end of each thing that I do, whether it was the song releases on each album and then the box set, I would do the final rounds, which songs really beat all the other songs. So like on, when I comes to the final rounds for these outtakes, it'll be, Borderline, Love Is War. I'm sure Stay from Crush is going to be one of those,
That's in my top 5 outtakes.
Yeah, I love, and I always thought Stay should have made the Crush album. I think it had.
Yep.
It had a spot for that album.
Absolutely.
But
it
didn't.
I was mind blown that it didn't. Crush had a lot of good outtake songs. A lot.
Oh, it did. Yeah. And it makes you wonder too why. You and I both know John's not very good at deciding what songs come and go. Like look at Prayer, for example. John didn't want to put Prayer on Slippery. And thank God Richie convinced him to do it because that's their biggest hit. But point is there's a lot of songs on each album that you think this should have made the album, like Radio for Keep the Faith.
Yeah.
That should have made the album. But John didn't think it was a good time for that song to be on an album.
So it just never did. That the impressive thing is the amount of great songs that they couldn't fit on an album when you're thinking, look at these guys' catalog and their ability to write, because so many treasure songs that didn't make it. What was I going to say there? River Runs Dry.
That one's pretty good. That's on the box set.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which album that was supposed to be on. I think it was supposed to be on These Days. Keep the Faith, maybe.
I could see that. It's interesting. You can usually tell an outtake what era it was just by there's something about the sound of it, the sound of the guitars, the place where John's voice was at the time.
Yep.
You can usually tell where. You can usually tell what era it was. And I mean, the album we're going to talk about today was definitely a time where John's voice was in its prime. And the thing about it too is that going into making this album, he wasn't in a good place emotionally, physically. He was having a hard time. Now, going into it, today we're going to be reviewing the album Blaze of Glory, the Young Guns 2 soundtrack that came out. I should probably pull up the wiki. It came out in August 7th, 1990. So we're looking at this month, 30 years since the release of that album. It was nominated for a Grammy and Academy Award. So I think he won the Grammy, but I don't think he won the Academy Award.
I think he won the Golden Globe, but he was nominated. He was nominated for the Academy and a Grammy, but didn't win either of those. But he got the Golden Globe.
That's correct. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing that.
So I think so. Don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure it was the Golden Globe he had won.
And there's a lot of people out there who don't know how to separate Jon Bon Jovi, the solo artist, from Bon Jovi, the band. And I think like this album was the first time that happened, and it's an important distinction to make.
Yeah.
That the two are very different, but I think that the general public doesn't really see that.
No, they don't. And I think that's, like you said, John's vocals on this album, I was actually listening to the album earlier, and, his vocals are just so incredible. And it amazes me because, this stressful torn that they were under from, 83 up until 90, they were constantly torn, especially those Slippery and Jersey tours. I mean, his voice was shot by the end of each tour. By the end of the Jersey tour, we know that he was worn out tremendously. And so I think the Jersey tour ended in February 17th, 1990.
Mhm.
And I think he started writing Blaze of Glory in April. And so then it was finished by June or July. And so just seeing where he was from the Jersey tour, 2 months later, he's recording the album.
Yep.
His voice was incredible, you know?
Yeah, I don't know what he did to take care of it, but I mean, it seemed to be sounding like at its peak. I say that as I can't talk. But yeah, and when I was saying John wasn't in a good place, I remember recalling a story where after the Jersey tour, John was just so burned out that he was in a moving vehicle on a highway and he considered throwing himself out the car door.
Yeah, I've heard that story too.
Yeah, he was just not
Things
in.
on Behind the Music.
Yeah, I think he said it in an interview, like with somebody, I can't remember who.
Yeah, I think it's
That
on.
story stuck with me because I was so alarmed by it.
Yeah, well, you gotta imagine what Yeah, he's on top of the world, but can you imagine all the scrutiny and all the stressful? And he wasn't also running his brand at the time either. He was just being a kid and work, 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 work.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing too is I want to point out was that, like you said, nobody can distinguish Bon Jovi to Jon Bon Jovi. They can't separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think with this album, I think he had a lot to prove. First of all, not only just, hey, I'm more than just an 80s has been. I can still make music and I can still write hits. And then also to the point where I can do this without a band, without Richie, Tico, Alec, and David.
He didn't need any crutches. He could stand alone and do it.
Yeah, and I think he proved it well.
But I mean, at this point too, he was so famous that he had a lot of musicians out there in his corner who appear on this album. So
yeah.
He was also able to show that he could summon that kind of attention and support from his peers.
And I'm trying to remember, he had Elton John, Alda Nova, Little Richard. Mm-hmm. Who else did he have on that album?
You named
Randy Jackson on bass.
Yeah, Kenny Aronoff on drums.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a list down here. I copied it so we could share. Jeff Beck was on guitar.
Jeff Beck, yeah, that's right. He made an appearance, I think, in the Miracle video as well.
Did. And a lot of people don't realize in the Miracle video, Joey Tribbiani, hey, Matt LeBlanc from Friends, he was in the video too.
Yeah, he's also in Say It Isn't So video later in Crush, right?
I think he is. He's been in 2 Bon Jovi videos. There's some trivia. It's true.
Yeah.
Lots of big names on that album that came out for John. Lou Diamond Phillips even has credits on vocals. So I'm wondering if that's him speaking like on the track anywhere. But then I don't think so because they go that, I think it was Emilio Estevez goes, woohoo, I'll make you famous. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't get a credit on the album for that, but.
Yeah. And then, the other track too, which is like the kind of like the intro for, I think, Dynamite of a Living, when I think it's Kiefer Sutherland who says, you wrote a 15-year-old boy straight to this grave, the rest of us straight to hell. That's also on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one too. The end of Miracle before Blaze of Glory, when Emilio Estevez, was it, you're not a god, pull the trigger and find out, that part.
You've watched the movie?
I love the movie. I was going to ask if have you seen it?
Yes, but it's been so long since I watched it that I don't remember it at all. I was never that into Westerns though, but that's kind of funny. But I was obsessed with this album. Yeah,
see, when I was a kid and this album was out, I didn't care for the movie. And then as I got older, a few years ago, I really got into it because just I think you start to understand more of John's songwriting as you get older and you get into more songs.
Yeah.
And I think I saw the movie and kind of really based it from the soundtrack. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a good movie.
One thing I'm really interested in knowing, did John already have the script of the movie when he wrote all the songs? I think he did.
Yeah, because the story is Emilio Estevez and the director, I forget there was like John Flunko or something like that.
John Fusco.
Cusco, okay.
Yeah.
They went to John and said, hey, we want to use Wanted Dead or Alive for the movie. And John was like, well, I want to see the script first. And he read the script, didn't think it really fit the album. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to write you a song, which him and the rest of the cast of Young Guns were in I think a diner or something. They were like eating dinner. And John actually penned the lyrics to Blaze of Glory. And then he told Emilio, 2 weeks, I'm going to have this recorded. I'm going to perform it to you. And I think they went to like a desert somewhere. And John performed it. And the director begged him to write the whole soundtrack.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that he wrote Blaze of Glory in like 5 minutes on a napkin in the middle of dinner time.
Kiefer Sutherland has recently recounted that story in the media. Not too long ago. Yeah, not too long ago. I think, and one of the things he quoted, he goes, Kiefer said, look, we were munching burgers while John's writing a #1 hit song. He made us feel stupid.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And it's pretty funny.
What were they eating? You said burgers?
Yeah, he goes, we were munching burgers.
But it's just incredible that, like, you know, a song that won a Golden Globe was written in 5 minutes on a napkin. You know, that shows you how amazing, you know, how talented he is.
Exactly. They're one of the most underrated yet successful bands that have ever existed. And
yep.
There you go. There's a reason. People don't realize how good they actually are. They just think it's a bunch of arena rock catchy tunes. This is what I feel like the general public thinks. But there's so many tracks that have nothing to do with arena rock that are just deep and lyrically intense, you know, that people just don't know about. And I feel like it's always been my mission to let people know there's more to Bon Jovi. They have depth.
Oh, exactly. It's
without
like
me getting laughed out of the room.
Yeah, you know, it's like, if I have to recommend any album for anyone to listen to, it's either These Days or Lost Highway. You know,
yes,
probably These Days probably isn't the first one to give out to someone, but
These Days
it's
is
such
my
a great
favorite
album. It is.
It's my favorite album. Yeah,
it's an amazing album. You know, and I was speaking earlier about how, you know, when you're younger versus older, you know, you get into an album. Like when I was a kid, I couldn't get into These Days because I couldn't relate to heartbreak or dark days or anything. You know, I was a kid. Yeah. But as I got older and turned into an adult, I started having, you know, breakups and, you know, tough things that happen in life. And then you relate to that album, you know? So it's amazing how music will find you at a certain place and time. Mm-hmm. And These Days is one of those great albums that are just like that.
Like you said, you were a kid. When I approached the album, I was 15. So I was a teenager and I still hadn't experienced anything really. But I think it was musically and melodically that this album really spoke to me on different levels. Because what, like those harmonies that him and Richie have, and just like the pain in his voice and the things he could do with his voice at that time were just blowing my mind. So that's what caught me first about that album. And then later on, I could understand more of what the lyrical content was about. Yeah,
same here. You know, for the last 20 years, you know, John has always said that that's one of his most optimistic albums. And, you know, I know we're talking about the Young Guns album, but side note, you know, he said it's one of his most optimistic albums. And so when I was younger, I was like, are you kidding me? It looks like you're about to hang yourself. But as you get older, you know, you and I were really kind of fans that dig deep into the songs and the lyrics. And so I've realized in the last few years that the album is actually about finding that light at the end of the tunnel, that we're not alone, we're in this together, finding that light at the end of the tunnel.
You had to dig deep to see that. It's not as blatant as what they write now. Because what they write now is basically, hey, everybody, like, we're rah, 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 we're in this together, stand up, spread your wings and fly, da, da, da. This is the Bon Jovi of now, right?
Yeah.
But although 2020 is coming out just around the corner, and some singles have been released already, I'm going to say that so far the music part of it, the musicality has not knocked the ball out of the park for me, but the lyrical content has been impressive, especially with a song like Unbroken.
Oh, yeah.
So John's still able to write a deep, touching lyric. That I will say.
Yeah. See, I know it's not a very popular album so far. Me personally, I absolutely love what we've heard so far.
Yeah.
And I got to hear Lower the Flag too, and Lower the Flag is great. But there's Limitless as well. Do What You Can, I loved, and Unbroken. Did I say Limitless?
Yes, you did.
I think they're all great songs, and so it makes me hopeful for the whole album. But the one thing I will say about Limitless though is that I wish the chorus had a little bit more of a oomph to it, a little more, because the verses were there, but the in your face, but then the chorus, it just kind of pulls that punch away.
It's not climactic. Yeah.
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 The chorus, it's like what John says all the time, don't bore us, get to the chorus. The chorus is the biggest impact of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately it didn't have that, or solo, guitar solo. But
that's true.
I think the new album's going to be good though.
I'm glad you're very, you believe in it. You're very optimistic about it. I'm going to be optimistic about it. I haven't had a chance to listen to much of it yet, but I'm definitely going to give it a few spins and see if it grows on me or not. But yeah, I think when you're a fan as much as you and I are, sometimes people are upset if you're ever critical of the band. I have never heard you be critical of the band, but I know I have been critical. And I think the reason why that is because over all these years, I know what they've been capable of doing. And when something doesn't seem to hit the same measure, I can't expect them to be 100% amazing forever. I can't. But when something doesn't come to the same level of what they've done in the past, it kind of lets me down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm thankful for is, like you said, you never see me be critical because I don't like being critical because I don't know what it's like to be in his shoes. Yeah. And I'm enjoying what's out, but you got to look at their point of view. Mm-hmm. How many bands like them are still writing big songs like they did back when they were 20, You're right. John's voice isn't going to be the same, so he's not going to be able to sing songs like Prayer or anything like that. He's
that's a good point. Like you said, he's got to be able to write to his voice, and that I respect.
Yeah, and like you said, the songwriting. You were saying about the songwriting for Unbroken. It's incredible, and I think the delivery of his singing and playing, I think it's great. Some other fans will disagree, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong opinion. It's this is the way that it is. There are songs that I don't like, but like there's like a Whole Lot of Leaving. Everybody knocks me for it because I don't like a Whole Lot of Leaving very much. Okay. And so everybody knocks me for it. But that's the way, we can't all be the same,
No, and that's what makes it interesting and beautiful is that we differ in our opinions. In the end, we all like the same thing, but it's different parts of it.
Yeah, I was scrolling through social media today, and I won't name names, but there were some people saying that they weren't hopeful for 2020, which is okay. Mm-hmm. But then there was other fans attacking them for saying that. Like it's not that big of a deal, mm-hmm. It's a shame. It's kind of like politics, if the other person doesn't have the same political views that you have, you automatically write them off. Yeah. Like there's some of my best Bon Jovi friends, there's a tongue twister there, that we disagree on so much, but we still have the same love for the band,
Exactly. And that's the important thing, that we can come together and talk about this, because there's not that many actual Bon Jovi fandom like we all have, where we appreciate them for the music so much, is actually kind of rare. When you think about it, there's Bon Jovi fandom where it's like I said, they know 3 songs and they think John's cute, right?
Yeah.
But then there's what we do and the discussions we have. So it's actually rare, and it's nice to have a community of people who can talk about this, dissect the songs, and get deep into it. And I think it's really nice to have that with folks like yourself.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's one of the great things about the Bon Jovi fandom is that some of my best friends I talk to every single day are huge Bon Jovi fans, and they live different countries, different states, mm-hmm. and so have you. And it's great how music has united, like you and I here. You're in Canada, I'm in PA, and it unites us. It's incredible.
And before we get into talking more about Blaze of Glory, I just wanted to mention to folks if they look at your YouTube channel, Bon Jovi Conversations, you've had an opportunity to speak to a lot of people in the Bon Jovi camp.
Bon Jovi Discussions, yeah, I have. And I have a few, I shouldn't say anything. But yeah, I've been fortunate to talk to a few. But originally, Bon Jovi Discussions, it's just...
Sorry, I said it wrong. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's okay. You can call it whatever you want. But I just started to do it because it was a way, during COVID, and it was just a way of, because I talk a lot with other Bon Jovi friends on Twitter. And I was like, this would be kind of cool to do on a video, and people can watch and relate, and it's fun, just a way to talk to other Bon Jovi fans that love the band as much as you do. Because when you go to a show with someone, I don't know if you go to shows with any other fans, but I do. And so like from morning to showtime, and after the show, we talk nothing but Bon Jovi the entire day.
Yeah. And it's such a fun day to make a big event of it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's more than just the show when you're, a big fan. You're talking with other fans, and it's great.
The one show I remember we made a big day of it was because we went to Vegas to see them at the MGM Grand. It was the Have a Nice Day tour.
Ooh.
Like I said, I didn't see Bon Jovi here in my town for years. So we're going on about 15 years, I think, at that point. And I'm like, they're never coming back, so I'm going to go see them. Go to Vegas, and we made a day of it. And I was like, while we're here, let's go check out the little wedding chapel where him and Dorothea got married. So we went. I took a picture outside where the sign says, Jon Bon Jovi was married here. They let us come in, and the girl who works here, she's like, are you here because you love Bon Jovi? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, here, I have something for you. They had a stack of photocopies of his marriage certificate.
Oh, did they?
And they gave me one. And I was like, thanks. But then part of me was like, am I being really weird and creepy by having this? I was like, that's kind of funny. But I kept it. I just kept it in like one of my Bon Jovi scrapbook things I have. Yeah. And I thought it was just a neat little souvenir. But
yeah, not like you frame it and put it by your bed every night,
No. But it was just cute that they had that. And that just tells you that people have been visiting there as part of their not only their tourism, but because they're Bon Jovi fans. So
yeah, it's funny you mentioned, because I did a runaway trip in Vegas back in 2013, I think it was, and John was actually late to our event because he was walking some lady down the aisle at that chapel.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think I remember seeing photos of that.
Yeah, there's photos somewhere of it. He walked her down and that's why he was late to our photo op, and we were going to get to see sound check and all that. And I remember I don't think they even did sound check that day for the show, because the band was on tour, and he didn't do sound check that day. We heard the band, but not John, because then we found out later on that John wasn't even there.
Is there a disclaimer in your package saying that sometimes these events, things like that happen, where there's like, it says there'll be a sound check, but then there's no sound check?
They never really, I remember the MetLife 2013 package had sound check, but didn't include the photo op. Mm-hmm. And so it's very rare that you get the photo op and the sound check, which I wish you did, because I love sound check. But if I had to pick, I'd choose the photo op over the sound check.
I still haven't met my idol. I waved at him once and he waved back.
Hey, it's something.
And then I have been in front row though, so that was a bucket list thing for me.
Yeah,
it was Richie's birthday. It was Richie's birthday, so I made him a nice little birthday card sign.
What did it say? Happy birthday?
It just said happy birthday, Richie. And I had 4 different signs. So happy birthday, Richie. John points it out to Richie. He's like, look at all these birthday cards out there for you. He points at it. And I was like, yeah. And then on the back of it, I said, today is a great fucking day for rock and roll.
Ooh.
And Dave Bryan liked that one.
Yeah.
He liked that one a lot.
Go figure.
But that's for people who know, that was what they used to say back in the 80s before they went on stage, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Slippery New Jersey tour. What a great day to, or you say it better than I do.
Today is a great fucking day for rock and roll.
Yeah.
And so we go into Blaze of Glory. Thank you for, I know I go off topic so easily, but it's just nice having this conversation, right? It's cool.
Yeah, I go off topic too. So.
So we've already gone over basically how Jon got involved in the project. And it was never Jon's intention at that time to write or record a solo album. It just happened because Emilio asked him to. And then it suddenly just seemed to flow. It worked and he kept writing.
Yeah.
So the album mainly focuses on the theme of redemption and whether an individual's past wrongs will catch up with them. That's what Jon thought he was doing, was telling the story of Billy the Kid and Pat Garrett. But later on in an interview, he expressed that he was actually reflecting on where he was at the time.
Yeah.
And these characters just kind of played it out for him.
Yeah. We were talking about the movie, and I wanted to mention, fun fact, did you know that Jon actually plays in the movie?
Yes.
He played, I think, as a prisoner. You don't really ever see his face, so every time I watch a movie, I try to point him out, but
his face is like a blur, isn't it? Like you hardly see him at all.
Well, you see the body, but like I think they show him for like a millisecond, and he's like got this big beard and long hair, and you can't really tell it's Jon. The video quality back then wasn't the greatest either. Mm-hmm. So not a lot of people know that though, and I'm like, yeah, was his first. Because he told the director he wanted to be in it for a second.
And he was shot immediately.
Didn't last long.
It ain't the first movie where he died quickly. I think it was U-571. He dies too, doesn't he? Doesn't he get shot?
Yeah. No, that's Row Your Boat. He dies in U-571, but he also dies in Row Your Boat.
I can't remember Row Your Boat, but I remember the title of it.
You gotta watch Row Your Boat. That's the greatest movie. It's the greatest movie he's in. Amazing role. I think he plays a character named Jamie.
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it and I'll watch it again. But I can talk to
you an hour about his movie, so we won't get into that.
So this album, when it came out, it peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Top 200 and number 2 on the UK albums chart. So for a Western, it did better in the UK than in America, but only by one chart spot. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's the thing. People who know Bon Jovi should know by now that Jon's really a cowboy.
Yeah. I think you can tell, songs like Wanted and Stick to Your Guns and Ride Cowboy Ride, if that wasn't obvious enough.
And the thing that got me is the amount of shock there was out there when Jon decided to do a country record. Bon Jovi as a band did a country record, which was a great record. But people were like, country? I'm like, well, duh. Couldn't you see that coming for years?
Yeah. They said all the time during, Lost Highways, obviously the album, they were saying it all the time back in 2007 that rock and country is pretty much the same thing. You just add a little bit of twang into it, which is true.
Yeah.
And Lost Highway is actually my second. I'm not a country fan at all, but Lost Highway is actually my second favorite album of theirs. And I don't think it's really that. Here we go, sidetracked again. But
I know.
I don't think it's really that country. I think with a little bit of violin, a little bit of twang, that's about it.
It's true. I mean, the songs are basically Bon Jovi songs. They just added different instrumentation.
And I think the songwriting was a lot deeper too. More of a little bit of a storytelling, I think, but it was good.
My favorite one on that was The Last Night.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. Yeah, but my point was basically that, Jon's always been a cowboy. He's always been interested in country western themes, and none of that should have ever surprised anybody, especially when this album came out. So the title track, Blaze of Glory, was released as the first single, and it hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and the mainstream rock charts immediately. To this day, I think that Blaze of Glory is still a well-known song, especially for movie soundtracks.
Yeah, even with the band itself, they'll play. I don't think they've played it since the Greatest Hits 2011 tour or Circle tour, but it's a huge staple in the band's career too. Even when they play it live, it's not a band song, but it translates pretty well. So
yeah, the band got used to playing it because
Yeah.
it was that important to John's career. I think that it kind of in the end kind of becomes a Bon Jovi song because they have to play it. But yeah, like the video was super cool too. I liked the whole premise of being out in the desert at a drive-in movie theater that's deserted, and at the end, I think the screen burns down, doesn't it? The screen lights on fire as it's playing the movie.
Yeah, I think right after the last chorus. Which, fun fact, and I don't know if you picked up on this yet. If you listen to the drums right before the final chorus hits, it's actually a broken. Now, obviously, this came out before Always did, but it's actually a broken down version of the intro to Always. You never picked up on that?
My mind just blew up.
Yeah,
I can see it. I can hear it now. Yeah.
listen to it. Compare it to that part, and then the Always intro, and it's Blaze of Glory is just kind of slower than Always is. I can't do it. I'm not a drummer, so
the roll at the end. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but pay attention to that next time.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Can I sidetrack? I would say when you were mentioning that sometimes John isn't aware of what is the hit and what's not going to be the hit. Always is an example of that.
Yeah, that was their number one selling single of all time.
Yep. And
it's amazing.
And he shelved it.
Yeah.
He shelved it. He never wanted to do anything with it. It sat around for a while. I don't even know what it was written for. But I think it was John Caldona who came along and said, "What are you doing with this song? Why aren't you doing anything with it?"
I think it was Obi too. It was actually written for a movie called Romeo's Bleeding. He got the script beforehand, and he wrote the song for the movie. And then he previewed the movie before it was, screened to anybody. And he's like, "I don't like this movie. I don't want my song to." That's what John had said. And so I think it only sat on the shelf for like 2 months, and then they were still compiling the greatest hits, Crossroads, and whoever you mentioned, and Obi was like, "This is going to be a smash single." John was like, "No, it's not. It's I wrote it for a movie. It's not going to do anything." What do you know? Number one selling single of all time in their career.
Yeah. I think, it's amazing how when you're the writer, you can't judge the ability of that song.
I think he's too critical of himself sometimes. It's like the theory of him being the CEO of his brand. When he's on tour, sometimes he's so serious. I think he forgets to have fun, and sometimes when he's so serious, that translates to other fans. And you got to have fun too at the same time. I understand he's the CEO and there's a lot under his belt, but I think he's too critical of himself sometimes. Yeah.
I think it's probably hard for him to just relax and enjoy everything that he's accomplished. Maybe not so much now in his late 50s, but I think like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, John had a hard time enjoying his success.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people go through that because in order to get where you're going and be that successful, you had to work. It isn't just handed to you. So it's really hard for you to sit back and not work. You're always like, oh, there's something more I have to do. I have to top this. I have to top that.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Yeah. It's like John has said before, once you're on the top, there's nowhere else to go but down. And you've got to keep, an artist has to keep releasing more music. You can't just have a 5-10 year period and then come back. There's some bands that have a comeback, but there has been. Bon Jovi's never been like that. They've always been consistently releasing stuff. And there's a whole nother side, and we won't get into it, but I see the band retiring in the next 5-10 years, but I see John still going for another 20, on his own. So
the quote I know of Jon Bon Jovi is like, "I'm going to keep doing this until I turn into Fat Elvis." He's like, if I turn into Fat Elvis, then it's over. I'm done.
Yeah.
But he's not there yet. He's not Fat Elvis.
No, I look at Tico, and he's going to be 70 in a couple. 23, he's going to be 70, and so it makes you he's going to want to start, and he's still a hell of a drummer. But he's going to want to settle down and not do the whole band itself is slowing down on touring. But that's a whole different discussion. I can keep going on about it, but
I love that we can just go on tangents. It's awesome.
I'm so sorry I keep sidetracking.
No, it's great. It makes for a wonderful conversation. And
Sure.
so when we left off talking about Blaze of Glory and the success of that song, the second single off the album was Miracle. Miracle was released, charted at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 20 on the mainstream rock charts. Miracle is a very beautiful song. I specifically remember the video being really cool. Jeff Beck and Matt LeBlanc in the video. Jeff Beck being one of the greatest, known as one of the greatest guitar players out there. So it was cool that he was part of this song. Miracle, yeah. What's your take on that tune?
I think it was amazing. I think it's one of the best songs lyrically on the album. And it's one of my favorites too. You know, my perspective, I've heard so many different perspectives on it, but mine is, you know, kind of dealing with what's been dealt and, you know, always having a lot of weight on your shoulders. That's even a line in the song.
Yeah.
And you're hoping for a miracle per se, you know, and I think that's what I get from the song, you know.
Your savior has just left town. I like the lyrics are so good. Like,
it's one of the best on the
my
album.
eyes have seen the horror of the coming of the flood, the driven deep, the thorny crown. Like just really cool imagery with the lyrics.
Yeah.
Fantastic writing.
Yeah. And my favorite, well, I think a lot of this album too, like you said earlier, he was portraying himself too in this album. He was writing it. And I think there are some parts of the album where he was writing about him and the band. You know, my favorite lyric from Miracle is, he said, "I'm just one man. That's all I'll ever be. I never can be everything you wanted from me. I got plans so big that any blind man can see." I think my take on it was he was writing about himself, you know, back in the 80s. You know, he had all these big dreams and stuff, but then he's being pulled in this direction and that direction. And, you know, people are trying to form him to be the man that they want him to be, but he's got to be true to himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, that's a really good take on it.
Yeah. And, you know, I also love, you know, at the end of the song too, when they do the intro which kind of makes you wonder why they put these intros, you know, like at the end of the Miracle, they put, you know, the "You are not a God" line from the movie. And then it ties into the Blaze of Glory. But, yeah, music video was also good too. I think Wayne Isham actually shot that video.
They've worked with him I think they've worked with him several times. Isham.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Isham also directed Bed of Roses.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
With all those aerial shots of Richie on top of a mountain playing guitar.
Yeah.
Super cool.
And, you know, one thing I like about the music video too is that it kind of ties in with, you know, like in the movie, it's all about riding on your horse. You know, it's like "One Day Alive on a Steel Horse I Ride," you know, which is the tour bus. But I like in the video, you know, he's on his motorcycle. And I think instead of a horse, it was a motorcycle as a form of similarity, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Actually, I never really made that correlation before, but it totally makes sense.
Yeah. I make correlations with the weirdest things, but I always,
and the bikes, yeah, that's the imagery.
Because it gives you that Western feel of the song. They're in New Mexico, but you don't see horses, but you see all of them on their bikes. And I think that was their form of horses.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Totally.
So,
but
yeah.
he's always ridden the steel horse, so it makes sense. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the third single was actually "Never Say Die," and I wasn't aware of that.
Well, you know, Blaze of Glory and Miracle were actually the only official singles. Never Say Die and Dying Ain't Much of a Living weren't really singles, but they were released in, like, I think Never Say Die came out in somewhere in Europe, but nowhere else.
It charted in Australia, Canada, and Poland.
Yeah. Here in the States, it was only Blaze of Glory and Miracle.
Yep. And then they released Dying Ain't Much of a Livin' and Santa Fe as promo singles, which weren't official. Just, I don't know what the point of that was. Well, the one thing I remember about Dying Ain't Much of a Livin' was they put out Keep the Faith, the videos. Do you remember? Did you ever own that?
Yeah, I have it.
There was a lot of obscure music videos that were made up just for that release. And I believe that, I don't know if the video for Dying Ain't Much of a Livin', I don't know if it was when it was actually created, if it was created for that purpose to be on a video compilation, because I don't think it was ever released. And it's just telling, it's like kind of in a black and white or a sepia tone. And it's basically telling the story of like a father who's saying goodbye to his daughter and stuff. And by the end of the video, he's hanging.
Yeah. And it's so weird because, John's not even in the video. So, when I first saw it, I saw it on the Keep the Faith, but if it wasn't for the Keep the Faith VHS, you would think that it was like a fan-made video.
Totally.
Which is a good video. But, I think, like you said, I think it was rushed.
Yeah.
The video-wise.
I think it was. I think like the story it's telling was pretty deep. It was pretty emotional, but yeah, where did it come from and why did it exist? That's what I was wondering. This video itself. Dying Ain't Much of a Livin' is probably, honestly, my favorite song on the album.
It's
second.
Very, your second favorite song.
I take it back. Second.
I think it's one of the saddest songs, especially John's part when he goes, nah, 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 nah. Mm-hmm. I think that adds so much emotion to the song. And you haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if you remember, but like the part where the 15-year-old boy gets killed, and so it kind of shoves in your face the idea that, back then cowboys or any men in that matter were about war and shooting at each other and taking what you wanted. And, these people didn't really ever see old age because they were, killed early on. And pretty much their living was, like Billy the Kid, just killing people until you're dead, that dying ain't much of a living, I think it's a song of regret, wishing you were more.
I love that take on it. I agree with you completely. And yeah, it's and even the chording musically of the song is very sad, but there's such beauty in the way it's sang, in the melody of the chorus. There's so much beauty. I tend to listen to music more for the actual musical part of it than the lyrical content. So it's interesting to have these conversations when people are really dissecting the lyrics and telling what it means to them. I'm more just like, oh, but that piano.
See, I love dissecting lyrics, and I relate these lyrics to the album. Like I was saying, before Dying Ain't Much of a Livin', the intro is, that you wrote a 15-year-old boy straight to his grave line. And in the movie, that it's towards the end when the 15-year-old boy gets shot because he wanted to be just like Billy the Kid and wanted to ride with him, and he was like, no, this isn't for you, this is for people who don't care to live and will get shot at any time. And this kid still wanted to do it, and so Billy kind of took him under his wing and he gets shot. And so I think that's where that song really kind of ties in with that part of the movie was, Dying Ain't Much of a Living.
A lot of people aren't aware. I think it's very obvious that Elton John is a part of this song because his backing vocal is very high up in the mix. So you can hear him very easily.
It matches so well with John's voice too.
I'm so happy that they had the opportunity to work together that way because it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. And my favorite lyric from that song is the night's there to remind me of the guns in the early graves. The ghosts appear as I fall asleep to sing an outlaw's serenade. I think I got that right.
You got it right.
It's weird saying it and not singing it. What are your favorite lyrics from that one?
Oh, geez.
Putting you on the spot.
But the night's there to remind me of the guns in the early. Well, that's the same thing.
Yeah, you took mine.
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
I haven't thought that deeply about it.
Oh, see, I'm just so weird dissecting lyrics, and I always
No,
pick
that's
out
not.
my favorite.
That's not weird. That's great. That's great that you did. But I didn't think that to do that, to think about it that deeply. Like I said, I think it's because I'm more focused on the musical content.
Yeah, that's how music. We all
Mhm.
interpret music different ways.
Yeah. When it's my turn to die, pray for me. I hope somebody prays for me.
I'll pray for you.
That's a spoken part, but it's powerful nonetheless.
Oh yeah, sure is.
Yeah.
Sure is. So do we want to go in order with the other songs?
I think it's too late to go in order. I think it's just all over the map.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish the couple songs coming up, and then from there, I can do the rest in order with you.
Sure.
Bang a Drum. It kind of feels like it's one of my top ones. It kind of feels like it's almost like a gospel. It's a gospel. It's got a gospel. It's got the choir. Bang a Drum was released with a country singer, again, re-released country duet version in 1998 with country singer Chris Ledoux. Rest in peace, Chris Ledoux, who's passed on. But him and John did a really cool version of it. It was made to look like it was Chris's song, and then John just drives up in his convertible and gets out and sings a verse with Chris Ledoux and gets back in the car and drives away.
Well, Chris actually bought the song from John and put it on his solo album in 98, I think it was. And so that's why John only has that small, where he's singing, and then, like you said in the video, pulls up in his car.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's actually on one of his, I don't listen to him, but I know it's on one of his solo albums because he bought it from John. He liked it that much.
That's weird to outright buy the song. You could just credit John as the songwriter and release it.
I don't know. I think a lot of artists buy songs from the other artist. It's like for Nothing by Bon Jovi did Nothing, which is an outtake from Have a Nice Day. Bo Bice bought it from John and re-recorded it.
That's a great tune.
Yeah, but Bang a Drum, my interpretation on that song is it's kind of like a code of honor. It's kind of like honoring those who, instead of saying a prayer, you're banging a drum. And it's kind of just, bang a drum, say a prayer for the ones who are having hardships and all that. That's my take on it.
Well, I can tell you my favorite lyrics on that one is
let's hear it.
Who say, John, I'm gonna die if I don't start to live again. I work each day and night like clockwork, just trying to make ends meet. I could kick this bad world's ass if I could just get on my feet.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Mine be probably towards the end when I don't know where all the rivers run. I don't know how far. I don't know how come. Well, I'm gonna die believing that each step that I take, it ain't worth the ground I walk on, even if we don't walk our way. I think I got that right.
That's really cool lyric, saying that it doesn't matter what kind of ground we walk if we don't do it the way we want to. Yeah, it's
kind of similar to, we weren't born to follow. We got to take our own path, be a leader. That's my take. It's a good song.
So I think Bang a Drum is one of the more lighter-hearted tunes on the album. It's not as serious. There's some dark stuff, but there's also quite a few bright lights on this album too. So I would now like to start at the beginning of the album.
Well, I want to ask you one quick question. Which version do you like more? Do you like Bang a Drum from the Blaze of Glory album or Chris's take?
Blaze of Glory. Blaze of Glory. Absolutely.
Me too. I figured you'd say that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I love how there's the whole gospel choir chorus in it too. Hallelujah. Amen. Like, I love how they have all that going on.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
Kind of ties into like the whole say a prayer thing. And I think it's good at the beginning of that song that John kind of justifies that it's not how Bang a Drum is similar to, because in the first verse here, he says the preacher turned away, so like he doesn't even have a preacher to say prayers to it, or, doesn't have to say a prayer to make things happen, and so I think he kind of, instead of saying say a prayer, bang a drum.
Yeah.
I don't think I made sense there very
No,
much.
no, you did. The
In my
preacher
head, it sounds
turned to
right.
me, laughed, and the preacher turned away, said, if you want to tell them something, you ain't got
You
to
ain't
fold
got to
your
hold your hand.
hands.
Say
Say it
with
with
your
your
heart,
heart,
your
your
soul,
soul, and
believe
believe
it.
it.
Now the lyrics came back to I was drawing a blank on that for a second.
Yeah, no, it's very inspirational, and it does definitely have kind of like a spiritual tone to it.
Yeah, sure
Mhm.
does.
Okay, back at the top of the album, the first track is Billy Get Your Guns, and man, that's like a really revved up, energetic tune. It's a good opener to the record. I would say Billy Get Your Guns has got a really sweet chorus that's easy to sing along with. But I never really, like I said, I didn't really pay attention to the story of the song. I just figured it was movie related.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, I think it's such a the song is a great intro, but also the intro to the song, hoo hoo, I'll make you famous, because he says it so many times in the movie.
Yeah.
But, I always thought that Billy Get Your Guns should have actually been a single, because it's kind of like Blaze of Glory. It's like the movie's anthem. And in the movie itself, in the credits, only Blaze of Glory and Billy Get Your Guns are in the movie, credit wise.
That's right.
And I just, and the song is so good live. It's every time I listen to it, I always think, this is the true. No other song in that album really speaks the true story of Billy the Kid as that song does. The song is like a tell-all of Billy the Kid. I think, there's it ties with my favorite lyric. They christened you with whiskey, and there's fire running through your veins. Well, you're an outlaw just the same. And every night a bullet wears your name. That last line, every night a bullet wears your name.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story. But everybody was out to get him because there was ransom, or payback. They just wanted him to die. And so many people had bullets for him, to shoot him.
I've really got to watch this movie again, don't I?
You have to. I tell you, it really, and it's amazing because, John wrote this soundtrack based on a script, not the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just takes a lot of talent to write a song from a script.
Well, he hasn't even seen
Yeah.
the show yet. Yeah. Yeah. It takes a lot of imagination. He has to visualize it all without the aid of seeing it. So
visuals. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I know you don't know but it's a weird thing what are your favorite lyrics from that song?
I don't know. I should have had these lyrics pulled up. Right?
I won't put you on the spot anymore.
I'm glad you're asking, though.
Well, it's one of those weird things about me. I'm just always curious to see what others, how they interpret a song or how they, what their favorite lyrics are.
I'm really pleased that you are bringing up this lyrical part of it, because these aren't usually things that I thought about much. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I'm actually pulling up the lyrics because I need to know now.
Yeah, now that I brought it up, you have to answer.
Okay. Oh, there's that silence while I'm reading. Podcast silence. It's just really makes the show.
Dead air.
The thing about this song that's interesting is that there's a really cool line, and then it says Billy Get Your Guns. A really cool line, and then it says Billy Get Your Guns. Like, it's that statement is throughout the song the entire time.
Yeah, because Billy always has to have a gun handy in the movie, because at any given time someone's going to be there to try to shoot him. He's got to have, he could be in the middle of a promenade or whatever, with his friend, his gang, and he's always got to have his guns ready, because like my favorite lyric, every night a bullet wears your name, so you always have to have your guns.
That's a great lyric. Like, honestly, I really enjoy that. But another one that caught me was because every outlaw that's died will live to ride again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, will they? Cool.
And that song is so good live. John did it a few times during Destination Anywhere promo in 97, 98. And one of my favorite performances of that is from the backyard barbecue they did for VH1.
Yeah.
And, oh man, I love it.
You posted that recently.
I think I actually did. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the first time I'd seen that video, and I was like, I remember asking you, is this Destination era? Because it looks like it. But I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what a randomly great track that they pulled out to play. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I wish I don't think he's ever played ever since that, but I'd love if he did.
Blood Money.
Oh,
Blood Money is such a simple song. It's like basically acoustic guitar, harmonica, pretty much it. It's a simple melody. It's like a song you could sing around a campfire. It's one of the first songs I ever learned to play on guitar because it's got a pretty basic chord progression. But Blood Money is a really cool tune.
yeah. Side note, now that you said that you could play that on guitar, at the end of the scene, you've got to play a part of that.
That was 30 years ago.
Oh, that was 30 years ago, so maybe not.
I haven't picked up my guitar in a long time. But I'm glad you asked.
But like I was saying with Billy Get Your Guns, that was the song that was truly about Billy the Kid. Mm-hmm. Now with Blood Money, the whole second half of the movie is all about, Pat Garrett, who was Billy the Kid's best friend, always by his side. All of a sudden, leaves the pack, and then he's given a badge of silver and money to kill his best friend, Billy the Kid. And so that song, Blood Money, is all about that, is about two brothers not together anymore, and one brother turned, going behind his back, because of a badge made of silver and money, pretty much a ransom. Mm-hmm. And so I love Blood Money is actually my favorite track off the album. And
nice.
I want to see it live. Last time John did was back in 2011, I think. But like you said, it's one of those songs that it's just so simple to play around a campfire or wherever.
I think it's a song that he could still sing. I don't think it would be like he could probably just tune it down and he could probably still sing it. Yeah, it doesn't do anything too wild or crazy.
Yeah. And, the song is only, I think, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, something like that.
2:34.
Oh, 2:34. Well,
yeah, it's short.
Pretty good time. Or did you pull that off the internet?
Oh, I pulled it off the internet. It's right in front of my face.
I was going to say, that's very good.
I don't know lyrics, but let me tell you. I know it's 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
There's probably people out there that actually do know it like that, which is kind of weird, but
the standard radio song nowadays, you got 3 minutes and 30 seconds to get it done. So it's even shorter. But then there's songs on here that are like 5-6 minutes long too.
Yeah, most of the songs on there are like 4 or 5 minutes long. I think the longest one is Justice in the Barrel.
Ooh, yep, you named it. That's the one. The longest one. 6:48.
Is it really? Yeah, I think it's because of that intro. That first minute. I guess we could talk about the Justice in the Barrel now, since that's the next one, because we covered Santa Fe.
No, we didn't cover Santa Fe. We didn't.
I think okay. Let's go back to Santa Fe. I
was like, no, please, let's talk about Santa Fe. It's my favorite song.
Prematurely touched it. Anyway, okay. I'll let you.
It's okay. No, I was going to say, but for favorite lyric off Blood Money, it's definitely in the chorus where but your conscience is all you can take to your grave. Ain't that the truth?
Oh, sure is. And, we were talking about his vocals earlier. I think that's probably, besides Blaze of Glory, I think that's like one of his best songs vocally on the album. Mm-hmm. Especially the line, this is my favorite lyric too, and I blame the world for making a good man evil. It's this world that can drive a good man mad. Mm-hmm. And it's this world, it goes on. And what's the other one too, where it is like really high? It's in the beginning. What's that line?
In the beginning? The high one? The spirits, they intoxicate
me. Yeah, I love, his vocals.
I heard them say it's too late for me. Tell my guns I'm going home.
Yeah. I love
Santa Fe is definitely my favorite song on the album. And I'm an avid karaoke enthusiast, just so you know. And I found that song for karaoke and my world just lit up. Because I was like, this song to me is John's best vocal performance on record ever. This song.
Yeah. I agree. It's definitely one. Yeah. I know they did an acoustic on the Circle tour, Santa Fe.
I wish I'd seen that.
I think it's on YouTube.
Good. I will definitely find that.
Yeah, they did it because David and Tico would even come out to the Circle stage and would play that.
I spent so much money on the Circle tour, and I never
me.
even. I'm wearing a shirt from it right now.
Oh yeah, you are.
But I never. I bought a mouse pad.
Ooh, I have that somewhere too.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, it's somewhere.
I've had that for a long, long time.
Mouse pads are, well, I guess you have a computer setup, but I have a laptop, so like a mouse for me isn't. But I have them for collector's items.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, and I remember when we went to Vegas for Have a Nice Day tour, and I walked up there with my credit card, and it's like, I'll have everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it had been so long. I spent like a couple $100 or something like that.
See, the Circle tour was like the first year that I had I was 16 years old, 17. And so I had my first job. And so like they'd announce tour dates, or I'd go to the show and like you said, pull out your debit card, credit card, whatever. And I would do that. I was like, I just got paid yesterday. Here's my card. And I would just buy shirt after shirt and, you know, little keepsakes like a mouse pad or,
yeah.
You know, I over the years, I wish I would have added up how much I spent on merchandise, shows.
I put one of his kids through college.
Oh, we probably put them all through college.
Yeah, we did.
Or that nice kitchen he has at his house.
Oh yeah,
we paid for that.
We sure did. I'm glad he's getting some joy out of it. It's good. But anyways, yeah. What was I talking about? We were still talking about Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Oh man, that song is a joy and a pleasure. And to sing it as a vocalist, it gives me chills, and it's just unreal how he sings that song.
Yeah.
Like it's one of his most technically perfect songs. Whereas on These Days, there's a lot of technically good stuff, but there's a lot more pain in the vocal. A little more emotion. So
like Hearts Breaking Even, or If That's What It Takes, Something to Believe In. You know, those songs really set the tone of the lyrics and the song, and you know the pain he was feeling.
And another thing about Santa Fe that's cool is there's strings in that song. They've got orchestration in it, and it's really cool to hear. Really cool to hear, like the orchestra.
Yeah, it is.
I think they use it at a couple other points too. The album ends with an orchestrated song that I don't think John wrote, right? Guano City,
yeah. Which is kind of weird to me how that even was put on the album but not the movie. I don't think it's in the movie. And so it's just kind of weird how an orchestrated song is just on there. You know, but it was a soundtrack too, so that could have been the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
It is technically a soundtrack. What does the album cover actually say? Songs inspired by, isn't it?
Got it.
You got it right there.
CD in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, songs written and performed by Jon Bon Jovi, inspired by the film Young Guns 2.
Does it use the word soundtrack?
No, it does not. Songs written and performed by Jon Bon Jovi, inspired by the film Young Guns 2.
Because you mentioned earlier that only 2 songs from the album are actually in the movie.
Yeah, so maybe that's why. So we both learned something new. And I got your track listed runtime now. So.
Oh, good. Well, I think we can go on to Justice in the Barrel now.
Okay.
One thing I really like is that like the guitar riff.
That guitar. That's the
comes
best
out of nowhere.
part. That's the best part of this. I'm not gay in any way, but I don't know if it makes me sound it, but that guitar sounds so sexy in that song.
It does.
You know, I know that sounds weird, but it's just it has that, you know.
There's a real mix of sounds in this song because it starts off it's almost like maybe like an Aboriginal native sound in the beginning.
Which is in the movie.
The Navajo thing.
The Indian man that's in the gang.
Yeah.
He does like a ritual or something. And then that extra, it's kind of like the Who I'll Make You Famous, you know, those lines. That was also put in for Justice in the Barrel. But yeah, so that was interesting that was also put in.
So it goes into that, and then you hear this really beautiful female voice, like just riffing, and then you hear John kind of whispering, like, "There's no justice, no justice," and
Yeah,
then it goes into that cool guitar riff. Then the drums come in, and then it's like another song again.
yeah, yeah. What's your interpretation of the song?
Lyrically, that this is it's kind of goes back to like these young men that are just like living and dying quick lives, is basically whatever your outcome in your life is going to be, you're staring down the barrel of the gun, and what's going to happen to you is based on whether you're going to get shot or not, because that's going to be where your justice in your life lies.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, that's a good one. My whole interpretation of it is that, back then, back in the 1800s when this movie is set, it's about no justice. Pretty much the society you live in makes their own rules. There was no government, and so there's no justice. It's kind of taking justice in your own hands, which is why everybody owned their own gun. If you did someone wrong, you shot them or you hung them.
Mm-hmm.
If the government, the legally wise, they'd get hung. And so like a eye for an eye, you and your gun, it's like the lyric, when only justice a man can see is the barrel of a loaded gun. That's the only justice in their society.
There's no going to jail or like going through a court or jury of your peers. That's not what it's about. It's about, whether you're going to live or not depends. On my gun kind of thing. Yeah.
The perfect tie-in of that song in the movie is the scene where you're gonna have to go and watch the movie now.
Yeah.
Is the part where Billy the Kid and his gang go to a guy who owes Billy the Kid $500, which back then was like
a lot,
$3,000. And the guy was like, "No, you're not getting this money." And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna have to take justice in my own hands." And he's like, "If you don't give me my money, I'm going to kill your guy and your guy for not giving me the money." And he did. He killed both of his men as justice for not being paid. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It's definitely cool how it ties in with the scene of the movie, and something that I have to watch again. Honestly.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm going too deep into the movie.
No,
if you have,
I'm glad. This is exactly what you should be doing. I appreciate that.
Sure.
You're covering all the bases. Never Say Die is not a song I particularly cared for. It never really grabbed me.
I got into it as I was older. You know what's weird? Every time I listen to it, and I see a little bit of a similarity, and obviously this came up before this one did. Good guys don't always wear white. Don't you see a similarity between the two? Especially with like the instrumental, the intro. It's similar.
I don't see it.
Oh, listen to them back to back. It's not full in your face.
Okay, I'll have to listen to them back to back and see the commonality of it.
Yeah. Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I feel like the energy level of Good Guys is a lot different than Never Say Die.
There's a lot more energy, I think, in Good Guys, but I don't know.
Good Guys Don't Always Wear White. White is a fantastic song, but I feel like the energy of it's very erratic.
Yeah, I think that's probably why John didn't make it really go anywhere.
It's cool. They played Good Guys. Another example of them being cowboys, but that's a soundtrack from what was the name of something the Way? What soundtrack is that?
I forget. It's not
the name of the album.
I'm not too sure what
it was Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. The Cowboy Way.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, The Cowboy Way.
I think
something like that.
No, definitely was Woody Harrelson in it. But that movie, that's another thing. Like, hey, let's do a cowboy movie. Let's get Bon Jovi to do the song.
Yeah, they did, and they performed it one time and forgot all about it.
Wasn't it like the MTV Awards or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
It was like on the rooftop.
Yeah, back in 95, 90. Yeah, something like that.
It was a very cool performance. I
Yeah.
recall.
But the interpretation of this song is, I think, like, and I think this has a lot to do with the band. I think he was writing about the band at some parts, you know, being in a pact and your brotherhood, basically. And I think it was, like I said, a lot about the band.
It's the blood on blood of this album.
Yeah. See, I was going to say that, but I was like, maybe not. But
kind of.
yeah,
Same
I think
same
it
kind
is.
of idea.
Yeah, you know, like the lyrics, you know, once I was afraid of love, but when it's your brother, those things change because love is just another word for trust. I think that's the lyric. Yeah. And I think I think he was writing about the band there, you know, because there's a lot of secrets that they'll take to the grave and, you know, being a pact of brothers.
I am giggling because your puppy is so cute staring behind you.
Oh, did you see him?
Yeah, he was just staring at the screen. It was the cutest thing ever. He's still there.
Can you see him?
Hi, pupper.
His name's Jackson.
Oh, Jackson's a cutie. Jackson's a cutie.
He sure is. He's always beside me.
Oh, lovely dog.
Yeah.
So I would say that Never Say Die definitely does sound like it's like a brotherhood type tune. And that's something that's always been exclusive to Bon Jovi as well. Even though this is his solo album, but he's always been brotherhood has always been very important to him, I think. Hence why, like, on what is the name of their clique, the Jersey Syndicate?
Yeah.
That everybody who worked for John's tours and his crew and is a part of that tight knit group, John gifted with like a diamond encrusted slippery when wet pendant necklace. Yeah. And they're part of the syndicate basically. So I think that's kind of been an important thing to John.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like you said, it's kind of like the epitome of blood on blood.
Mm-hmm.
So
then we're moving on to You Really Got Me Now, which is such a fun song. That song makes me get up and want to dance.
That's got to be the most fun song on the album.
Totally.
You know, it's like one of those bar, you know, Western bar kind of songs, you know?
They got an old stanky piano sound on it. Like,
yeah, Little
Richard kills on this song, and he sings on it and plays. And what an honor that must have been for John to have Little Richard perform with him on this track.
Oh yeah. Well, when Little Richard passed away, you know, unfortunately, earlier this year, John had posted a picture with him from the studio of Young Guns when Little Richard came to play. But you know, I think that watching the movie, I think that song should have been in the movie. I think it's just like one of those fun songs that they could have, you know, like when they're in the, no disrespect, back in the day it was called a whorehouse. Yeah. You know, I think that's when they should have played that song. You know, because it's one of those party fun songs.
Party, and it's got a little bit of dirtiness to it. It would be cool to just playing in a saloon, or it's one of those songs where you feel like there's a bunch of people together having a party and they're gathered around a piano and singing the chorus together, and it's got that great feel good feel to it.
Yeah. And you know, the one tie-in though that I think that was from the song into the movie was the lyric, well, you can walk on water but don't want to wet your feet, meaning you want to take credit for something that's not yours. And I think that's when I forget the character's name, but Kiefer Sutherland plays the character, and he takes credit for some of Billy the Kid's murders, but he's not really a murderer per se, you know. And so he's taking the credit, you know. So I thought that line was interesting, which is my favorite line of the song.
That's a very good interpretation. I'm glad you brought that up.
I could be totally wrong too. So
it doesn't matter. You're never wrong with your interpretation. Everybody takes what they take from a lyric and interprets it the way that it feels right for them. That's what songwriting's about. So I believe that what you just said was very correct, and I can see where you would get that from. I just like something. My thing was our old friend Smith and Wesson, Think You're In Over Your Head.
Oh, I love this song.
Yeah.
I love that song so much. You know, you say those words, and oh, it's such a great song.
It
You
is.
know,
It truly is.
I'd love to see that. You know, I can see him doing that solo, but I think with like Little Richard and the whole piano thing, I don't see it ever happening. But
Oh, David could do that.
oh, I'm sure he could.
Get David to tinkle it out. It'll be nice. Like just a little like yeah, it would be cool. But I don't see John touching it anytime soon.
He probably doesn't even know it exists.
He probably forgot the lyrics.
Yeah, probably.
It's so funny. If I ever get to see them again live, I'm gonna bring a sign. You really
You
got
really
me now?
got me now.
Huh?
Yeah,
John will be like,
and
what?
And I also love how John's vocals are kind of in the background more than close, like in your face, like in your ears close. He's kind of like more in the back.
Yep.
And question, maybe you could answer this: is in the second verse, is that Little Richard singing that?
Yep.
That was Little Richard. Okay, I always wondered that, but I could never find confirmation on that.
Oh yeah, he sings. He sings.
That was him on
the
the
lead
second verse.
Yep, absolutely. That's his voice.
Okay.
Okay. Absolutely. And the song also has a very old-timey production value to it. Like almost like they put it on like a record that's crackling.
Yeah. That's why I said it sounds like something they could have. I don't know if records were back or around. I don't think they were, but
there's those pianos that played themselves.
Yeah, basically, so that Western type sound.
Do you watch the television show Westworld on HBO?
Isn't that like a soap opera?
No. Westworld is like a reality that's created for rich people, where they basically they've created this world with what's called hosts, and the hosts, I'm going way off topic. The hosts are basically created AI people that are there to entertain the rich people who are coming to stay at Westworld. And eventually these AI characters throughout the series, they kind of realize that they're AI and take over.
I'll have to check it out.
But it's originally Westworld on HBO, but it's originally set in a Western setting. And I think that it might be something you could enjoy. When we were talking about the whorehouse and the saloon and that kind of feel, they have that in Westworld too. And that's what I was picturing in my head with this "You Really Got Me Now" song playing.
Yeah. That's funny. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll check it out, though. Westworld on HBO.
Yeah, yeah. So basically the last two tracks that are worthy of chatting about, we have already: Bang a Drum and Dying Ain't Much of a Livin'. Guano City is the last song on the album that's just an instrumental that's about 1 minute and 15 seconds, written by Alan Silvestri. Yeah. So it's just kind of an outro, really. It doesn't really add much to the album. And like we said, it wasn't really necessary. But then again, you don't want to leave that album on Dying Ain't Much of a Livin'.
No, it kind of suicidal. I don't know.
It would be too dark to leave it at that place. So I think it was something to just kind of take the album home to a little bit of a lighter. And I honestly don't even remember what Guano City sounded like, to be quite fair. Like, I think I always skipped it when I was listening to the album.
I don't listen to it often either because John's not even singing on it. I think it's just more of like a soundtrack type song. I don't know. To me, it kind of has a scary vibe to it. But it's a perfect way to end the album, I guess. And
it was just putting a bow on the package, really.
Yeah. Signed, sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, like, definitely out of our chat, what I've learned today is I should pay more attention to lyrics, and I should watch this movie again. And I will do that. And I think that I'll report back to you.
Yeah.
I'll tweet you and let you know how I enjoyed it. Because like I said, I don't even remember it at all.
That's okay. We interpret music in different ways. Me, I'm more into the lyrics and the story behind it and how I relate to it, if possible.
I think it's incredible that you brought all those stories and interpretations of the lyrics to this conversation today. It's exactly what this conversation needed. So I thank you for that.
Yeah. Sorry I tied it too much into the movie.
That's not a bad thing at all. That's a wonderful thing. That's pretty much the point, right? So no. I think we'll definitely be having another chat again, and I'd love to come on Discussions anytime.
Yeah. I'll try to have you on in the next month or so. I have a
Sure.
few I still got to post, but maybe we could talk about another album and where you know your lyrics
Oh yeah,
a little more.
that's these days. But actually, no, I'm other than like I'm not that versed on the first two albums because, quite frankly, I never listened to them that much, especially since my fandom started when Keep the Faith came out. Yes, I did go into the back catalog, but mostly the Slippery in New Jersey.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Slippery in Jersey were like when the band kind of they found their definite sound. In the debut in 7800.
Hmm.
I think those, they were playing around with different sounds and techniques, and
I don't think
I
they
think they were
knew
trying to
exactly
find
who.
their.
You're right. I don't think they exactly knew exactly who they were yet.
Yeah, because like you look on 7800, there's such a array of songs that just don't have a flow to it. Like Tokyo Road was like, that intro to Tokyo Road was like weird, like South Florida. So, like what the hell is that? And then all
I
of a
never
sudden,
knew what they were saying. I thought it was
yeah,
Sakura,
uh,
Sakura.
maybe that's what it is. It could be. It probably is. I
South
always
Florida.
interpret it as South Florida. Like, why are you singing about South Florida? But I'm gonna have to go listen to
Yes,
that because maybe it is that. So for the last 20 years in my head, I've said
it's
South
Japanese.
Florida. So
It's,
my
it's
takeaway tonight is that. And now
you made my day.
every time I hear it, I'm gonna think of you now and think of how stupid it was for me to think
You
South
made
Florida.
my day. South Florida. Awesome.
South Florida.
My interpretation was that it's Japanese because Tokyo Road. So Sakura.
Yeah, it's Sakura or whatever. Whatever.
But
Not South Florida.
it is a strange intro though, isn't it? Like it's so
Yeah, it
out
is.
of place. And then when the song kicks in, you're like, what did that have to do with anything?
Yeah. And besides Tokyo, in Japan, I don't know. The flow of that album though was, like, because you had Silent Night, and then all of a sudden you had Tokyo Road, which is, I thought Tokyo Road was a little too heavier, like Hardest Part is great songs, but it just didn't fit the sound of the band, I don't think. But that's a discussion for another time. I'll have to have you on.
We'll have that discussion eventually. And I want to
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today. Jerry, it was a pleasure to get to know you better too. And I'm telling everybody who's listening to the show, check out Bon Jovi Discussions on YouTube and see all the cool people that Jerry's chatted with as well. You can follow him on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
Good question. Jerry Braden. Jerry Braden 92.
Sweet. Yeah. And you can vote in all of his awesome song polls too, pitting Bon Jovi songs against each other. I love it.
Yeah, if you like Bon Jovi, it's a good account to follow. If you don't like Bon Jovi, it's not a good account to follow because that's all you'll see. That's why I've learned that my Twitter account is like 95% Bon Jovi fan account, and then it's 5% of my life, which is nothing. So it's all I ever post is 95% Bon Jovi.
Hey, it's okay. You keep your private life for you, and you do your Bon Jovi fandom out there and share it with everybody. Yeah. I think it's great.
That's why I think it's more of like a fan account than anything. A Bon Jovi fan account.
That's cool because I think it's really grown, and a lot of people appreciate the information that you're sharing with Bon Jovi fans out there. So thank you for that, Jerry.
Yeah.
And
thanks for having me on.
And I wanted to mention to you, it's funny. When I first saw you when I was watching your YouTube channel, and I thought, you look familiar. You look like somebody. I said, you look like Nick Carter from Backstreet Boys. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, because of the haircut. But it's a popular haircut. A lot of people have them.
But I mean, yeah, you resemble him a bit. So cool.
Yeah, I can see it. It's probably just because of the way that. But he does his hair a little differently. But
there was a time where he had the same haircut, though. Very similar haircut.
What's that?
Nick, he had a very similar haircut to the way yours is at one point. I don't know what he does now, but back in the day.
Well, it's a popular haircut. I see the haircut all the time. So
is it like a faux hawk? What is it?
No, see, when I was younger, like high school and below, my hair laid down. I looked so freaking goofy when I was a kid and a teenager. I looked goofy, but my hair laid down and But as I went to college, I started to look goofier because my hair started to poof like a Gia pet.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, my hair's not going to lay down anymore. So I either just shave it and I looked goofy that way. Or, my hairdresser was like, well, why don't you do it this way? And so what she did was she took the sides down to like a 1 and then left like a length on the top where I style it up because that's where it poofs.
Okay.
And so I get my hair cut like every week now just to but that's the only way I can keep my hair. Or I could keep it, like grow up. I look like a big, you know what a Gia pet is?
Yes. Like
That'd be me if I didn't
you
do
look like
this.
Bob Ross, the painter.
Who's Bob Ross? Oh, the painter.
Yeah. A little for happy tree over here and a little happy tree over there. Yeah.
Yeah. So this looks not too bad, so.
It's a good haircut and it was a lovely chat. I'm happy that you came on the show. So thank you so much, Jerry.
Thank you.
And when I'm going to publish it, I'm actually probably going to publish this one pretty soon because it just seems to be lining up perfectly to put it out in the next probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I'll tag you in the social media when it's coming out and I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll post about it too. So
sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
Hey, take care of yourself. Hey, before I go, how do I never used Zoom before. How do I get out of this? Because
as soon as I hit end, it should allow you to leave at that point. If you look on the bottom right of your screen, you can hit either leave meeting or I hit end meeting for all.
There's nothing. It just says mute, share content and participants.
Okay. If I hit end meeting for all, it should
just
end.
hang up on. Let's make this easy. Just hang up on you. Yeah. Just make it easy.
All right. You take care. Have a great day.
All right. Bye.